Hello my lovely nestlings and welcome to today's video where I am going to review for you the newest palette from Nomad cosmetics called Santa's Village, hence Miss Muffet and the Santa hat. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Nikki. I am from the Netherlands, hence the accent. I'm also slightly orcish, relatively vintage, and I love makeup, spooky stuff, and being creative. And if that sounds like something you can vibe with, then this is the channel for you. Subscribe now, become part of my nestlings, because we are having a blast here on the internet. Let me explain some things. Slightly orcish means that I'm a light to light medium, warm-ish olive. Relatively vintage means I'm 46. Yes, I also have ADHD and I'm autistic, so I'm the complete package. And as you can see, we are still kind of Halloweeny mode, right? It's not Halloween yet, we're still in spooky mode. So Miss Muffet is still here, but especially for today's video, she kind of dressed up a little bit in her Santa hat. So, yes, never mind. The newest palette from Nomad Cosmetics called Santa's Village. It's a limited edition palette and it was sent to me in PR, and today I will show you 3 looks that I did with this. And while you are kind of watching the looks being done, I'm going to talk to you about the palette, give you my thoughts and opinions about the color stories, tips and tricks that I found. Yes, let's start though with showing you what the palette looks like. Let me start by giving you a close-up. So they went there again, right? With this one you have a cutout with which is Santa, and then you see the northern lights. The packaging is so extremely cute, and then on the back of the outer slip especially you just see basically what the palette entails. So it says here, dashing through the snow come these merry colors, formulated with extra fine pigments and cloudberry seed oil to help keep colors as fresh as winter air. A collection of 4 making spirits bright mattes and 5, you would even say they glow, shimmers, inspired by Christmas cheer of Santa's Village. If you're new to Nomad, they do this with every palette. They pick a destination, go to the destination, and on site they get their inspiration. They usually also work with local people, pick local charities that they can donate to. The donation of proceeds from this palette go to the Finnish as in Finn, the country, not as in ending. Yes, Association for Nature Conservation, and I love that. It's 4 mattes and the rest are shimmers. The color story itself, I think it is Christmassy because you have the white, the red and the green, but it is a spin-off on. I like that they put the gray in here as well. It just gives it something extra, and the shimmers are very nice and sparkly. They are topper shades though. That means that I will give you some tips along the way about how to best use these, but you can also use them as a highlighter on your face. What I noticed though, this palette doesn't swatch the best. You see that in the swatches, they kind of look a little bit meh, but at the end of the day it's all about how they perform on the eyes, and that's what I'm going to go into now. So I wanted to do a kind of a red look with a twist today. And what I did notice right away is that the shadows have kick up. Not heaps, but they have kick up. They are also a little bit softer. They blend very well though. And you can also layer. So they're not as soft as their old formula, but they are still soft enough to be very beginner friendly. That was the word I was looking for. Shade White Christmas. It does show up for me, but I kind of have to pack it on a little bit, but I do like it to use in the inner corner to brighten up the eye look a little bit and to just help with blendability. Build it up very nicely. I did want to deepen it up a little bit, so I grabbed the shade Elf, which is the gray. I laid down the matte shade on my lid as well, and I actually do that with all the looks because these are topper shades. I noticed that when I was swatching and I wanted to use them as topper shades, but I kind of wanted to play with them and learn to work with them a little bit more as well. So I just tried dry first with a brush, kind of like a topper on top of that. It was cute, but not really what I was going for, so that's why I kind of started to help it a little bit. I tried it sprayed and it does work. I also tried it with a glitter primer, the glitter primer that I use, which also works, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's a topper shade. What I found works best is your fingers. What also works is a sponge tip applicator, and I use a sponge tip applicator with these types of shades in my inner corner, because even though I don't have long nails on right now, I'm just not as precise as I want to when I just use my fingers. But if you use your fingers, they are the best version of themselves. Yeah, and I think that the eye look turned out very, very cute. What I use for the rest though, to finish everything off, will be linked down below in the description box. What I just noticed very well right away was that the shadows are nice and pigmented. I get, at least from the colors, instant pigment, but they're still easy to work with. Do tap off your brush though if you don't want a lot of fallout. And as I said, you can also use the topper shades on your face if you want to use them as a highlighter. They're nice and sparkly. So for the second look, I kind of wanted to do something completely different, and I want to say almost soft. And you can go soft with this palette. I just cannot really. So yeah, you know what I actually love the most about the shade White Christmas is that I can very much use it as an eraser shade to blend out, to lighten up, but again especially to lighten up the inner eye part area. And if I want to have an extremely blended look, I kind of start with a shade like that, set my eye base and pack it on there where I want to have it lightest, and then blend a darker shadow on top so I can get a very, very nice wash of color. The shade Elf, which I'm very much using in this look, I love. I think that gray shadow is so stunning, and it works very well with my complexion. It's also very easy to work with, and I love that they did a dark gray in here. I think it's a very nice alternative to a black. I prefer to have the gray here than a black, but that is me personally. I already knew that I really wanted to use the shade Sauna in combination with the gray, because it has a little bit of a gray base shade. It also has a little bit of green, kind of a hint of a lavender in that. And I found that just such an interesting combination of colors that I love that so much. And I think that's it. I really like how the look turned out. I really do. The last look that I have on right now, I really want to, especially with this one, this shade, because it's the darkest one, the shade Fir Tree, I really wanted to play around with this. So I just started with this in the crease, and it blended out very well. I packed it on a little bit in the outer corner as well, and that's this is how I build up a one colored look. I set my eyeshadow base lightly with the color that I want to use, and then I grab a denser brush and I start packing on a little bit more, but gradually go a little bit lower. So not pack on and then try to blend it out. I kind of go a little bit differently, so I kind of try to pick the brush that I feel will work the best for that, while still blend actually as little as possible. I did want to show you an alternative though for kind of blending out a color. If you feel that you don't have a color in the palette that you can blend the color that you're working with out with nicely, grab your face powder. So I actually grabbed one of my favorite press powders, and it's the one from Charlotte Tilbury, but it doesn't matter which one you have. Just grab your face powder. I prefer a pressed one, but it will also work with a loose formula. Just tap off your brush a little bit and then just lightly go over the edge, and that way you soften the blend very well without pulling the color up higher. It is a very nice trick that I have been using for years. What I found with the shade Winter Lights that I have on the lid, it's actually the one that I feel has the most color, if that makes any sense at all. It also is a little bit sticky, so this is the shade that's the least like a specific topper shade. I still use it with my fingers because it just works the best with this formula. If you don't like that, which I can also understand, a sponge tip applicator works as well. Probably a silicone applicator as well, even though I don't really have one of those. Brushes do work. However, I found that my brushes just had a harder time picking this up. So my advice is just use your fingers because that's easiest. And if you don't want that, go get the sponge tip applicator, because they're still very much a place for those as well. I also wanted to do this shade Peace in my inner corner. Now what I actually loved most about this shade is that it is not very icy blue for me. It's almost a little bit, it almost turns a little bit purple for me. And I think it kind of has to do a little bit with the base, because when I kind of twist the palette in the light, I can see that it's a blue, but I can also see a green and it has a white base. So it's a very interesting thing that it does for me. I did spruce up the look a little bit by putting a shadow from the Vina in my inner corner though. And the shadow I used for that is called Nurse, and I will link it down below as well. What is then my final verdict? Basically the matte shadows are soft, but not extremely soft. So they are still soft enough to make them blend easy, but they are sticky enough. They're not really sticky, but they are kind of sticky enough or stiff enough to layer as well. And this is the darkness that I got. I'm also very happy with, I'm actually happy with the buildup of the shadows with all of the colors. The only one that does not show up as well for me is White Christmas. That is because it's also not a pure white. So when I put it next to my skin, it's just a very, it's almost a cream shadow, which kind of fades away sometimes for me because it's a little bit warmer than a white. Does that make any sense at all? So if I put a white on my complexion, which is on the warmer side, even though I'm a green, it pops. This one blends a little bit more into my skin. So if you are a very cool toned person, it will pop a little bit more. If you're a warm toned person, it will pop a little bit less. Does that make any sense? If you're darker, it will pop more. Now, I cannot speak from experience, but I can speak from observation and from talking to my darker friends who also love Nomad Cosmetics. I have not seen a shadow from them be ashy on my darker friends. I hope that helps. And knowing Nomad, they will also have swatches on a darker skin tone, so you can see how the shadows look on a darker skin tone. Now, if you're lighter than me, yeah, these will pop. Maybe not this one, because maybe that will be your skin tone, you know. And if you are very, very light and you're kind of freaked out about colors like this, what you can just do is use this to set your base. It's all okay, because these still have enough pigment to show up if you set your base. If you want to have the maximum payoff of the shadows, put them on a base that's a little bit sticky, that's not set. And if you feel like you need more stick, grab an eyeshadow base that's even stickier and that stays sticky for a long time. I hope that helps. So the mattes, I love their matte formula a lot. I think this is a very, very nice, easy formula that also for me, my eye looks took maybe 10 minutes before they were completely blended. What I personally struggled with was the topper shades, because I'm just not used to using these types of topper shades a lot. But yeah, as I said, using them with my fingers, and honestly, I always say I don't like to put eyeshadow on with my fingers, but with these I don't really have a problem. It's probably also because I have short nails right now. There is also that. I actually spoke to one of my besties here online, Debbie. She's very well versed in shadows like this, and she says topper shades just have more use here in the center of your eyelid. So even if I have long nails, I can kind of still tap it here or swipe it here, because that's the best I found. And then, you know, have that kind of spotlight in the center of my eye. And otherwise use a sponge tip applicator. I kind of hope that helped. I love what they did. I love that it's a 9-pan palette. I think that it is kind of a holiday palette without being very Christmas palette, even though it is Christmas themed. And I think that you can go soft and just, you know, soft. And you can go dramatic. I have a problem with going soft. It's not really in my wheelhouse usually, but that's okay. I hope that I kind of showed you how, for me at least, the shadows performed the best. I do want to mention that the palette will launch the 1st of November at 11 AM EST. And it is limited edition. If it's gone, it's gone. It was the same with their palette last year. This is also their last release of this year. So if you want to try Nomad Cosmetics and this is something that you want to get, make sure that you, I don't know, set your alarm. You can use my affiliate code if you want to save 10%, which is Nikki Raven 10. And they also have, I don't know if they will have this one in singles actually, but they also sell single shadows. So if you're like, I don't know if I want to get this one, it's definitely worth checking out, and just maybe you can make your own custom palette. And if you do, make a picture and tag me on Instagram, because I would love to see it. Then that is going to be it. On my end screen will be my Nomad Cosmetics playlist, so you can see all the other palettes that I have from them, my thoughts on them, and some looks and inspiration. And thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down in the comment section below. I'm going to wish you a fantastic day, a fabulous evening. May your foundation always match your neck, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys.
This is not a Christmas song.